climate change. The inauguration I'm about to perform is a culmination of vigorous efforts and rigorous process towards developing a framework for mainstreaming climate change actions into our national development agency agendas. Today, climate change is perhaps one of the biggest challenges facing humanity. It is complex and dynamic and requires multi-dimensional and multi-sectoral initiatives to address its impacts and avert its rapid advance. Updated data show increases in sea level rise, heat waves, wildfires, floods, desertification, drying wetlands, and many more disruptive climate occurrences. The latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report warns that rising greenhouse gas emissions could soon outstrip the ability of communities to adapt, and the window for taking decisive steps needed to spare our planet from gravest impacts of climate change is rapidly narrowing. We cannot ignore what is happening in our local environment. The increasing reoccurrence of floods in several parts of the country is a wake-up call. Floods across the country have been increasing annually, resulting in loss of lives, damage and destruction of infrastructure such as roads, bridges, schools, and above all, agricultural production. Presently, similar occurrences are being recorded in other parts of the world, such as Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other parts of East and Southern Africa. Let me, at this point, reiterate the determination of this administration to strengthen our national response to climate change and accelerate the implementation of decisive actions to reduce its impacts on our people and our economy. Nigeria is a party to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is an established international treaty to combat dangerous human interference with the climate system. In part, by stabilizing greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere. It is against this background that in November 2021, after COP26 in Glasgow, I signed the Nigeria Climate Change Act despite noticeable implementation challenges inherent in the Act, to set the framework for mainstreaming climate change actions, carbon budgeting, and establishment of National Council on Climate Change. The Council is tasked with the responsibility of formulating appropriate policies and other mechanisms for achieving low greenhouse gas emissions, including green growth and sustainable economic development for Nigeria. In a clear demonstration of our commitments as enshrined in our national determined contributions and the net zero target by 2060, I also approved on the 25th of July 2022 the appointment of the Director General and Secretary for the National Council on Climate Change. It is imperative, therefore, that those lapses earlier alluded to, which includes the establishment of states and zonal offices, creating a huge and costly bureaucracy, is not acceptable. The Act also takes out the commissioners of environments from the states as members of council, It also did not make transitional provisions capturing the work of the Interministerial Working Group. This group was responsible for energy transition, the supervisory oversight of the Ministry of Environment, and the establishment of an executive management structure at the secretariat level to support the DG in running the Council Secretariat. Accordingly, I hereby direct the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, in conjunction with the Minister of Environment, to initiate the appropriate amendment to reflect these observations. Today, I am inaugurating the Council, signaling the commencement of the implementation of the Climate Change Act 2021 and a new chapter in the renewed response to climate change. As we approach COP27 to be held in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, I am optimistic that the National Council on Climate Change will harmonize all issues relating to climate change, energy transition plan, emissions trading scheme, and the carbon trading framework, etc., in line with its mandate under the Act, so that Nigeria can have a robust and impactful outing that captures Nigeria's climate change priorities. Indeed, the composition of the Council is a reflection of the magnitude of the problem and the seriousness of our response. The Council comprises the highest level of governance and a representation of all key sectors of the economy. I must thank the Vice President, who headed Nigeria's energy transition plan by presiding over the global launch of the plan and initiating its marketing by engaging key stakeholders in the United States. I hope the Council will consolidate on these first steps and ensure a sustained marketing of the plan. It is therefore my honor to now inaugurate the National Council on Climate Change. Congratulations. Thank you all for the Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. President. That brings us to the end of this event.
Climate change. The Director General of the Climate Change Council, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this very important gathering on the inauguration of the National Council on Climate Change, to be administered by no less a person than the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Chairman Designate of the National Council on Climate Change. Mr. President, sir, you have since COP26 in Glasgow demonstrated immense leadership towards Nigeria's quest for net zero by 2060. You have at various forums, from COP15 in Abidjan to UNGA 77 this year in New York, always emphasized on Nigeria's commitment towards climate change response. Mr. President, you have walked the talk, and we thank you immensely for all your commitment towards climate change. It's on this note, Your Excellency, that I invite you to deliver your address and inaugurate the Council. Thank you, sir.